Indians to have everything instantly. Is that something that comes naturally to us, or now that we've built up this, this habit of wanting everything instantly? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
No, we are just compensating. Remember, there was a time when we were children. We were growing up where you apply for a telephone line and you used to get it after
8 years.
A year, 2 years. So we are compensating for lost time. That's a different thing. But actually, I have a slightly different point here because what is happening is we all like the new economy. You know, the way this economy is coming up, the way people are, harnessing ideas and making them
the heroes
big.
of the new economy.
And we all like that. We all like the way this economy is being built up, and we think this is possibly India's route to becoming a bigger, a bigger and more, robust economy. Having said that, the new economy cannot have industrial era ideas of labor management. I once met, I will not take his name, though he'll not mind, but a very big, startup person. We are just having coffee and shooting breeze. And his ESOP was upward of 14%. And I said, I haven't heard this number ever. So he said, listen, if I am like the industrial era guys, that, whatever profit you make, only 0.01% will be distributed to in the name of bonus. Saying, then why am I building new economy? New economy is where I'll be growing with hundreds of people and stuff like that. That thought, stuck with me. And I'm saying that today there is a space for new age economy, somebody who's spearheading new age economy, who has a very human story to tell about collective growth, which includes gig workers. So that, I think, is going to be the next phase of stuff where you cannot have the story of new economy where you are actually questioning a lot of stuff of the industrial era, but your labor policy can't be from industrial era, right? If this is going to define who we are in the future, then I think there has to be a slightly more, human approach to the idea of growth. The idea of growth cannot be storytelling. Whoever wants whatever in 5 minutes is not the idea of growth. How I can grow, not just, X number of people, but millions of people who work with me or work in my ecosystem. How do I make their life richer? These kind of narratives are waiting to happen. I'm sure somebody will do it. I don't know whether it's any of these guys or it could be somebody new, but I'm telling you, in the new era, this will be the storytelling, and it won't be part of the storytelling is new, part of the storytelling is from the industrial era. That will not work.
Amer, what's the prescription here then for brands? When we talk about brands like Zomato or Zepto, who do you perhaps think is best placed to capitalize on a new narrative? We've seen, for instance, founders being very vocal, very opinionated. It's not sitting on the fence for anything. You had Dipender Goyal come out there and really point by point attempt to dismantle arguments against their models. Is that the right way? I don't know. What's the take?
I don't know what's the right way, but I think what's also happening in my view is that there was the initial euphoria of, so many jobs are getting generated. I think there was that euphoria of, there is a new way of working, that, you can actually just get this done and you can you can make a living. I think that discovery phase is over. And I think now people have come to terms with the fact that, okay, this is a real means of living which can be earned and which is here to stay. And I think now that it's moved to that phase, I think even companies need to move from the phase of saying, okay, yes, we are providing employment, yes. But you're not doing anybody a favor, right, by providing employment. Because I think finally the people that you are employing are people who are actually contributing to the profits of your company. And how do you make sure that it's a bit like if I work in a company for 5 years, the company can't keep telling me saying, I've given you employment. Yes. At some point in time, I'm going to ask for, okay, what does it mean? Does loyalty mean anything? Am I getting something out of this? So I think these are the kind of conversations that it needs to shift to. Saying what happens to people who are doing this day in and day out. And even consumers need to be, like I said, I keep saying this, I think it's very important for us as consumers, all of us included, to also think of how do we respond to some of this, right? If we keep fueling the narrative of I am wanting it in 8 minutes and 10 minutes, the companies will keep doing that, because unless we say that, listen, I want it, I want it fast, but I do want it responsibly.
Right.
If the consumer does not ask for it, the company is not going to go ahead and do it. So I think it's a triangle, and everybody needs to act.
Yeah, I want to see that happen though. Consumers saying, "ठीक है," मतलब half an hour later is fine.
That is, I think I like Arun's optimism. Consumer will never raise a voice. At the end of the day, he'll say that I want it cheaper and faster. Because it's the ecosystem which will have to do it. It cannot be the consumer, because consumer more often than not will not be able to connect the dots. Whereas the people who are running the ecosystem, by which I mean the government system, the companies, the people who are providing the money, all this entire ecosystem need to be careful about the human value of any business. And human value of business is going to be the future.
Also, the truth is that the people that you interact with, they are the face of your brand. That's who the consumer is interacting with.
Absolutely.
For them, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Swiggy or somebody had done it back in the day, where somebody refers to the person as Swiggy. Like we all say, right? Swiggy is at the door. And then they said, no, there is a human being behind this, right? So I think one is to say that in advertising, but one is to how do you make sure, because that's what the consumer is being left behind with as a brand. And if that person's going to continuously crib about what's going on, it's not a nice feeling to be left behind with the consumer as well.
Let me zoom in a little bit on the aspect of communication and branding, Amer, and maybe share your thoughts a little bit on I'm going back to the example of Zomato, which really sort of pivoted some of its tone and vibe and feel and all of that when it did that campaign with Shah Rukh Khan. Your thoughts on how some of these brands are essentially communicating through advertising? Where do you think it should head next?
They should not communicate on social media. This is not something that they
Let's
can.
face it, that's impossible.
It is,
you can't say
well,
no
they
to
want.
social
They may
media.
want to do it, but they should not.
You're saying that the leadership shouldn't be that vocal on social media?
Can I say that when you try to defend something, it looks defensive, and especially when you try to defend something on social media, it looks worse than anything you've ever done. It doesn't look positive at all from anywhere. So nothing, at least on this count, you should do on social media. Do your nice, namby-pamby stuff on social media, make the brand look sweet and good and all. The actual thing needs to be done at the doorstep. That's what I feel. So I feel the brand needs to be built first at the ground level. The ground level is at your door, build it there. Let that person and the person facing that person, which is the consumer, talk about all this. Let that narrative come out in the open, and that will make the brand look positive, rather than you going out and trying to say, either defend like, the Goel thing happened or anything else. That's not going to do it.
The brands have to live the values. It's not just about, saying something on social media and the founders or whoever. And that living the values, what's happening at the front end, at the doorstep, is a key part of that. Yeah,
and I think in some of the examples, I think these are conscious choices the company and the founders have.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably how they want
What choice is that?
of putting themselves out there, and publicly stating what they believe is the culture of their company. I think these are intentional choices made by some.
Of course, yes.
And it has its pros and cons.
Plus and minus, yeah.
And it has its pros and cons. So I'm guessing they're okay living with both.
Fitting note to end this conversation on. What we take away, of course, is everyone must exercise a little bit more patience.